It's Border Battle Week, so join PA and Paul Charchian at the Friday Football Feast this Friday from 9 to noon at Buffalo Wild Wings in Coon Rapids. Enjoy great wings and drinks, tons of football talk, and your chance to win great prizes. Doors open at 8. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Here comes Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, with yours truly, Paul Allen. And it's awesome having Kevin join us each and every Tuesday from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. And once a quarterback, always a quarterback, I guess, or coach. Once a coach, always a coach. Once a player, always a player. You see a football here.
Yeah, you grab it.
Vikings Entertainment Network, it's weird saying it this way, but is it like the security blanket? Is it just something that makes you feel comfortable?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. It's just, I saw it there. I probably just ruined the whole shot. Did I ruin the shot? No. We're good.
Well, it all depends on who's sponsoring what and when.
Yeah.
I would imagine the football with, the NFL with the shield.
Yeah.
With the beloved shield. I'm sure that's okay. Do you perchance have any interest in hitting a racetrack with me in the off season? And here's why. Because this time last week, you sang the praise of Jonathan Grenard. And to the casual eye, the naked eye, hey, 58, cool, got a sack, threw 3, blah, blah, blah. Fits the components of a good defense. Clearly something's working well, but it's not like super splashy. And you sang his praises last week, and he just went out there and hit the trifecta. And he did so against his former team, hit the trifecta with sacks. I mean, maybe you're a prophet for profit with the way you're seeing these things, and good morning.
Good morning. I almost answered that initial question too fast.
Was it a yes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it sounds like a blast, especially with
Kentucky Derby on head coach's dime.
With your expert knowledge, we'd be in good shape, hopefully. Although, the one time we went out last summer, I know Caden enjoyed it a little bit too much. So, got to watch the youngster there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I just would tell you this much: I have a lot of confidence in our team, and I'm just kind of seeing certain aspects of it that maybe have not fully come to fruition.
Right. That's what we like in the horse racing business.
Exactly. I've seen some of those early morning workouts. Yeah. And no, I really awesome. I really like our team, and got a lot of confidence in our guys, and I keep on challenging everybody in that locker room to just continue to just work on, let's just getting better, regardless of what people say about us. And I've been out in front of this a little bit. I told our team we would get off to a fast start when we reported to training camp if we did things the right way. So I think it's a matter of just continually finding a way to make it about having a great Wednesday tomorrow and kicking off a good week of prep versus a really good team.
I saw your father on the field, sideline pregame again, second consecutive
He's
week.
Getting awful comfortable around the Twin Cities. So if you see him out there, watch out.
Yeah, when I saw him and he started smiling and he was chuckling, and I'm like, okay, I may have embellished a little bit, and then we started talking a little. And he's not going to Lambeau Field, so I was like, nice of you to care.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's not. He can only handle so much of probably granddad duties. Probably is the biggest thing.
That sounds neat. Help us here with this. All right, Darnold and his work and what he did on the Jalen Naylor touchdown. Okay, and the way I'm going to frame it up is like Darnold on that Naylor TD. What helped with the look left and the shoulder shake, if like anything?
Yeah, I think so. We're more and more these days, a lot of people have opinions on NFL passing games, this, that, and the other, pure progression. You dive deep enough into the weeds, and you can find an opinion for just about everything. What I believe Sam is doing a really good job of right now is tying his feet and eyes together, reading progressions, and being very decisive of really two things. Saying no if the front side progression is not there, but he also understands through a lot of dialogue with myself and some of our other coaches, the intent of certain plays is not always the number one progression. And what I mean by that is sometimes we're trying to dictate responses from coverages, whether it be man or zone, where we have answers if the coverage doesn't do its job on the front side, but at the same time we're building in natural look-offs, moving underneath coverage, and then trying to allow guys to win leverage and run away, regardless of man or zone on the backside of things. And it's happened a few times with some success here early on. People will start having some counters to that, which my hope is the counters leave them a little vulnerable to just number one being open. And Sam can continue to just throw strikes and hit the layups like he's done. And remember, we talked about this, layups don't have to be right underneath the hoop now. For a guy as talented as Sam, a layup could be a 25-yard throw, long handoff where he's just delivering it with great rhythm, timing, and accuracy, and keeping on. The big thing is those 15, 20, 25-yard chunks. It's what Flo tries to keep off of our defense's tape every single week, and it's what we try to do while running the football well having an adequate screen game, getting some ball out, drop back plays, quick game kind of plays, just to keep our overall offense moving forward and on rhythm. And then, being successful in the red zone, which we were last week.
Okay, so when you get Naylor running left to right through the end zone, and he's fast, one of the fastest, maybe the fastest guy on the team, you're going to take your chances with somebody chasing him. I understand that. But like the shoulder shake.
Yeah.
So what was that? Is that a tick or like what?
It might be.
Like what's that?
Might be.
Is it part of the bit?
A lot of times, when you see Sam do that, that's essentially him sequencing up his feet and eyes and body together. It's a natural thing that he's kind of always done throughout his career.
Really?
And I don't mind it because as long as his lower half is balanced, he speeds up that delivery and the ball comes out humming. So it's all about the location on those throws. It's great to win leverage that you're not supposed to win. It's great to get guys running away, but if that ball is not a foot out in front of the numbers for a contested catch for Speedy there, it's not a touchdown. It comes back to Sam playing at a pretty high level right now.
How excited do you think Aaron Jones is to get to Lambeau Field?
I think he's excited. I think he is. But it's not just the old PA. It's not just that I'm excited to go, the revenge tour type thing. I think formed a lot of great relationships up there. There's a lot of great people. I always say up there. That's the San Diego in me. But formed a lot of great relationships.
It is out there.
But
it's next to Mars.
I say up. It is next to Mars. That's right.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a nice little. I'm sure the Green Bay fans will give him a very warm welcome there. Guy played a lot of great football there, but Aaron's having a blast here. He's doing everything we hoped he would do and then some. Having a blast coaching him. He's already one of my favorite players I've been around. One
of my favorite plays from the most recent game was that 29 or the long run. That he had at the end, and the work and just the collaborative effort of what happened on the line. Now, this is a blowout, okay? So, I mean, you require 10 out of 10, but I mean, there could be some 8 out of 10 moments to try to get out of here alive and healthy, move on to the next one. C.J. Ham, the battering ram, just crushing people up the middle when you went straight eye, and the work the offensive line did. And just his the vision just must be elite, right? With just what he sees when he slides.
Yeah, he's had some unbelievable cuts and runs on a little tighter tracks than just always running wide zone or always running mid zone. We've been able to tighten up some combinations and get some real removal. That's what we call it with those double teams. When you see the D tackles moving 2, 3, 4 yards off the ball, that's tough on those second-level defenders, linebackers, safeties, because now they're not only having to play C.J. Ham blocking them at the second level, they're also having to play, their own defender who's getting walked back off the line of scrimmage. That falls under the play style. You can pause the clip as that ball's being handed off, and a lot of times you see a brand new line of scrimmage with Aaron or Ty getting downhill 1,000 miles an hour. Those have been really positive plays for us. And then just like on that play, you get everybody blocked in the front. There's one corner, I think it was Stingley, left over. He's got to try to find a way to fit in there to try to make that tackle. And Aaron, he guesses wrong, and Aaron's 39 yards later down the field, inches from scoring.
Any chance, Kevin, overall, this is the best group of linebackers that you've ever been around since coaching and since coaching, whether it's head coach and or assistant coach, and the Mikes, Saravo and Pettin. I mean, they just seem to be doing really, really good work with these guys.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it with our defensive structure and system. Blake Cashman's been phenomenal as a real hub of communication. Also just impactful with the physical play that he's given us as a blitzer, running sideline to sideline. Clearly, the outside linebackers have been phenomenal, the whole group of them. Pat Jones is having his best season he's had, super impactful, really playing in a 1A, 1B, 1C type role with Grenard and Van Ginkel. And then we should get DT back this week as well, who got off to a great start against the Giants, getting his first career sack. So I love the group. I think you saw Kamu step in for IP, which was huge.
Unbelievable.
Big early turnover, and really should have forced another one. Now that you're watching that back and having some dialogue with some folks about that play, could have maybe gone a different way in the moment. But I just love the way we're going at the football. We're turning it over, tackling well. People are trying to exhaust every type of ball out quick play they can to avoid the wrath of some of the looks we're sending. And then when we want to, we can keep people off balance. And like I look at Redmond's sack, Jalen Redmond up for the first time. That's a look where that we essentially end up bringing 3.5 guys on that look, but we had 7 on the line of scrimmage, and he gets a one-on-one on the center or the guard, whoever it was, and ends up winning and getting the quarterback on the ground. So just how it all works together to activate matchups, activate leverages, techniques we want to be able to attack from. Very similar to how we look at offense around here. We're really kind of just doing the same thing with a really aggressive mindset on defense. Give all the credit to those players, but I think Flo's doing an unbelievable job with his staff putting together game plans every week.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Mike Saravo, inside linebackers coach, Mike Pettin, assistant head coach, also outside linebackers coach, because of the collaboration of it all. And yesterday with your press conference, I thought it was really cool that you mentioned the Brandon Powell play.
Yeah.
Like nearly right out of the gate. And how, he handled punt coverage guys to keep them from getting the ball and downing it inside the 5. Ty Chandler also with what you mentioned. And I mean, that's high end awareness born of coaching details and repetition, and which means good work by Matt Daniels, Dahlman Gibson, and the special teams group too, right?
Yeah. And Ryan Cordell too, he's our game management guy, but he's also integral in the situational masters mantra. Every Friday we have a meeting with the full team, and Ryan and I go through every situation that's come up around the league, because they're all learning ops. Just because somebody handles it the right way or they handle it the wrong way means nothing to me. It's just a teaching moment for our team. And one of the things we saw in training camp, there was a preseason clip of a guy. Don't know if he ended up making the roster or not for whatever team he was on, but he was smart enough with the ball right over there on the boundary to put his foot on the chalk and before he touched the ball, which that makes it out of bounds regardless of if it comes to rest in the field to play or not. If you're out of bounds when you touch it, that ball's going to the 40-yard line. And in that instance, when Ty did it last weekend, that's 35 yards of field position, which is, as big of a flip as you can possibly have on a non-turnover play. And then BP, that you don't want to have to throw 97-yard touchdowns every week. So if you can get that ball on the 20-yard line and give yourself some breathing room to play normal football, that's a critical play that doesn't go in the stat sheet. There's no plus that at the end of the year we'll look back and see that on in some stat book somewhere. But it's winning football when you have smart guys that know how to play the game.
Well, and you I'm glad you mentioned the name Ryan Cordell because Ryan officially is the game management coordinator.
Yep.
And I've kind of always wondered, like, what goes into that, because he's upstairs next to the Vox box for the home game, so we see him up there. But so like being the game management coordinator, and you mentioned the special teams bent that it'll have, and the conversation that you guys will have on Friday about everything that's going on everywhere around the league. So, like, what goes into game management coordinator during the game?
Well, during the game, it's, he's giving me down and distance. He's, keeping me aware of where the clock's at all times. When we get into 2-minute situations, him and I are having real-time discussions. It helps to be the head coach and the play caller, because a lot of times I can dictate, how I want the timing of the clock to go. And what I mean by that is, if you look back to last week or even the Niners game, we're able to defer to start the game, get a stop defensively, or in last week's instance, get a turnover, turn that into 7 points. So momentum and advantage of managing the game is already on our side when those things happen. When it gets into that, middle 8 of the end of the second quarter, knowing that we're getting the ball to start the third quarter, for example, against the Niners, I know Kyle is always historically really good at trying to steal a long field goal opportunity to end the second half. So fans might be sitting there seeing us get a completion and going into a pseudo kind of muddle huddle there with however much time there was left on the clock. But I did let purposely 20, 25 seconds run off the clock to make sure that we can throw 1 or 2 more completions, and ended up getting a Sam Darnold scramble on that long third down to put us in chip shot range. But I wanted to give Will a chance to get us 3 more points going into the half, knowing that could be a 10-point swing if we do what we're supposed to do coming out of the half, and go down and get a touchdown. So it's trying to manage more than just plays. It's Ryan's heavily involved in sequencing up how we want to play the game smartly and make sure we're, managing the clock, eliminating time, doing the things from a standpoint of saving time when we need to. And then he's, heavily responsible for the replay communication of what he's seeing on the TV copy versus what I'm seeing in real time and or on the big board at the score.
And you have to have a good relationship and confidence, because, I mean, like, the last thing somebody wants to do is clomp into your headset when things are hot. Man, let me think, okay? There could be moments like that. I love you, but, it's hot. I mean,
he's got great timing. He kind of understands. There's some times where, I'll be aggressively starting a call, and he knows I kind of got, the lay of the land, and I kind of know exactly what I want to do. And then there's other times where I'll call a play on the previous snap and say, hey, Rye, talk to me. And he'll say, hey, any completion inbounds, we're on to the ball as fast as we can. Any chunk play, we're clocking it. Hey, you might want to use your timeout. You got 3 of them. Save as much time as you possibly can if we steal a good amount of yards. And then he knows he's an offensive coach. He's involved in the game planning. He knows the plays, knows the intent, knows what might occur when I call a play in certain moments. And so he can kind of envision what's going to happen before it happens, so we can just be one step ahead for our players. And more importantly for Sam, as, he kind of manages the game right alongside with me through the headset.
That sounds like a cool job. This is Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, at Green Bay this weekend, noon for the boom, 10 for the pregame on KFAN. Vikings 3-0, Packers 2-1. Have you noticed during your career a certain player, or maybe when you played, do you think certain or maybe most players like coaches who actually played that position? All right, they just get a little more comfortable. So Josh McCown is your quarterback's coach. Yep. He obviously played. Keenan McCardell with the wide receivers. I mean, we can go on. Marcus Dixon.
Curtis Modkins played running back.
There you go.
No, it's all over the place.
Does that matter to players in the room?
I do not think that I don't have a mindset that you have to have played at a really high level, either the position you coach or football in general. But I do think that having guys on your staff that have actual experience understanding what it's like to be in the shoes of the guys that they're coaching, I think that provides a lot of depth to your coaching staff, understanding of what the current player, what the players we have, what we're asking them to do, how they're going to feel throughout the course of a 60-plus play game, how to manage the guys throughout the week and really communicate at a world-class level to make sure then when we do have that boom at noon on Sunday, these guys feel really good, and these guys feel that they, are just a little bit more mentally and physically prepared than their opponent based upon those touch points that coaches like that can have. And I say all of that knowing there's also some of the best coaches in this league never played in the NFL.
Yeah.
They've been working their tail off since they were grad assistants at the college level, learning this game and the ins and outs of it at every possible level and angle, that they're also really good coaches too. So it's a combination. There's no formula. It's fitting personalities and people so that we're at our best for our players.
We have a talk back coming up for you, but first, with Green Bay on the horizon, here comes your old friend from the Cleveland days, Jeff Hafley.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until you said it during your press conference yesterday. So a couple of potentially dumb questions, but we've had a change there defensively with a coordinator, so therefore things inherently will change. And does he run a 4-3 as a base? And are Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, are they like hands in the grass defensive ends guys now a majority of the time? It's because I saw Gary doing that against Tennessee, but then they stand him up and boom, he gets a sack.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
They'll still stand up from time to time, especially, known passing nickel. They're trying to activate some fronts to get some pressure with games and things like that up front. But no, they base out of a 4-3, and you'll see some under fronts, which just, means that the defensive tackle is a little bit tighter on one side of the formation to the other based upon where they're setting what we call the 3 technique, which is the wider of the 2 defensive tackles. But really, it's a 4-3, and Preston and Rashawn Gary and Van Ness and these guys are playing 4-3 defensive end. A lot was made in year one for us when we went from a 4-3 to a 3-4 base. The Green Bay Packers with Joe Barry were always a 3-4 base, and so now it's just you got guys playing similar positions, but with some different types of blocks that they're playing based upon 4 down guys on the line of scrimmage versus historically 5 in their base defense. So the angles are different, the leverages are different. Guys are playing blocks that they haven't really historically had to play. The guys on the edge, they're such good players. Those guys are so athletic, so big, so strong. Kenny Clark is so impactful. I think Slayton's having a really monster year as a big fella inside. This front might be the best front we've played to date, and that's really saying something because I thought Houston, San Fran, and New York, I'd put them all in the top 10 fronts in the National Football League. So this weekend, given the Packers have gone 2-0 with Malik Willis, they lost the Jordan Love game, but he didn't get hurt until the end. And we have a talk back to the free iHeart Radio app, and my man's name is Matt from White Bear, and he offers this.
Good morning, guys. My question for Kevin is, with this week, Jordan Love being questionable coming back from injury, how do you prepare for both quarterbacks? And do you guys run 2 systems for each one in practice? Thanks for taking my question, and let's go get a W in Lambeau. Skull.
Let's go get a W at Lambeau. I love that.
Skull.
It's a great question, and we do have to be prepared for both players. The benefit we have is we have some things in our defensive system that regardless of who's playing quarterback, we can do things to try to talk people out of running the football. The quarterback run, sometimes is not as effective if we decide to line up certain ways that Flo has at his disposal. And then, we've got plenty of experience in film knowing exactly how explosive and lethal the pass game can be, really with both players. I thought Malik made some really nice throws against Tennessee. They're getting vertical on people with so much commitment from the defense to play the run game, so he's getting some easy throws, and Matt does a great job understanding how to attack coverage. And then Jordan Love, if he's the guy, if he's able to go, we're all going to have to see where he's at from a health standpoint, but I know he's as talented of a pocket passer, kind of what his special sauce kind of is you really saw him do it against Dallas in the playoff game, against, different teams throughout the season against us. He's a big, tall guy with the ability to stretch the field, every blade of grass that's out there, and he can reset the pocket in a lot of ways backward sometimes, where a lot of times as a quarterback coach, you're teaching guys to be firm, sit in there. Well, what they do is they do a great job up front, and they try to give him, a leeway of 7 to 12 yards behind that center, and he'll just keep getting depth and see over the coverage and lay a dagger cut or throw a deep crosser across your formation, and you're really sitting there saying, wow, what a throw, with the ability to attack it like he has. So it is different. We've got to be able to practice both, much like you would do back in the day when you were playing the New Orleans Saints, and it was Drew Brees and Taysom Hill would come in for some different things. Not necessarily the same kind of run game, but I think Stenovich does a great job with their run game. He's one of the best in the league at really understanding how to activate gun run, RPO, quarterback run. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw both players playing the football game if Jordan Love, does indeed go.
Interesting. And lastly, you were asked a question yesterday at your press conference regarding what went into signing Jonathan Grenard. What did you like about Jonathan Grenard? I'd like to extend and expound on it. And because I'd like to add Grenard, let's say Van Ginkel, Andrew Jones, Cashman, and so on. Is being really smart and able to grasp change quickly, at quick twitch, being smart, scholars of the game, maybe not the greatest athletes in the history of whatever spot, but we know we can trust you in situations like this. How important is that in the equation with everybody you draft and sign?
It's certainly part of it, because you can't do the things that we're doing defensively with guys that can't react 3 seconds on the play clock. Quarterback changes the play and gets to a 7-man protection. We've got to be able to play different defense that may be what elicited that response from the offense. That's where the check defense only works if all 11 guys can function in a check defense. And that's coverage is changing, that's pressures changing, that's front structures and movement along the front changing. There's a lot of, hubs of communication in there. Harrison Phillips in the middle, Ginkel and Grenard on the edges, Cashman being the green dot, and then our safeties being so dynamic with how they can do so many different things. But that sounds great in theory until it's not. And when it's not, it's normally because of breakdown in communication. And we're never going to tell our fans at home to be quiet either.
Right.
So they've got to try to do it non-verbally in a lot of ways, or have the check system so down that all 11 guys are basically responsible for getting to the right thing together through the same lens. It's been remarkable to see what those guys have been able to do over there.
And it's been remarkable for us to watch it and talk about it. Best of luck at Lambeau Field. I appreciate the conversation.
Always appreciate it, PA.
Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, 9 to noon from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center on this TCO Tuesday.
Head over to our contest page and enter for your chance to win tickets to see the Vikings take on the Lions on October 20th, thanks to Custom One Exteriors, the official home partner of the Minnesota Vikings. That's KFAN.com, keyword contest to enter.
Here comes Gabe Henderson, Vikings Entertainment Network and Vikings.com. He'll also be at the Friday Football Feast, Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids. We will have the regular ensemble. We'll start the show with Chad Greenway. Then we'll roll into Gabe Henderson and then Alec Lewis after that, a little earlier than usual because the Sultan of Smug, David Sinekin.
Oh, great.
Well, it's tradition.
Yeah.
Minnesota's a big tradition habit state. So the Sultan will come out to Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids at about 11:30. And we will have a border battle with Paul Charchian, leader of the Sam Darnold fan club, yours truly, and David Sinekin chatting about this border battle coming up, which we will do right now.
Now, are we going to have the mini-size footballs to throw at the Sultan of Smug?
I don't know.
Is that on the promotion staff? We got a couple of days to plan for it.
Kevin O'Connell and the Tuesday piece from 11 to 11:28. Anything bite you guys about anything he was talking about? Gabe, you first.
Yeah, just the mindset going into this game. You think about since 2020, both teams have split this series the past 8 games, the past 4 years. So we know, you play 3 physical games to start the year, and then you play against your arch rival. There's no extra added juice that you need to get those guys ready. So I'm excited to see what this looks like with 2 teams knowing each other, at least knowing the play schemes the past 2 to 3 years.
Well, and off of that talkback that we played from Matt and White Bear, PA, I have to admit I did not consider this at all, but it just shows kind of in the mind of a coach that they're going to have an idea, have a plan for any scenario.
Yep.
The idea that you would see Jordan Love and Malik Willis in the same game.
Yep.
Now, from my standpoint,
I didn't think about that either.
I'm just thinking like LaFleur, if he makes the decision and Jordan Love's back, that's the dude. Yeah. And if Love's not ready, we're going to roll with Malik and by patchwork and really good coaching and scheming, they've found ways to make your guy who was kind of languishing to the point that they picked Will Levis in Tennessee, that he has run for 9 yards a clip. He got explosive a little bit in the pass game last week against said Titans. Like LaFleur has unlocked something, basically the guy just got off the bus and immediately onto the practice field, Malik did, and they've won 2 games. But I never thought of the idea that potentially you're seeing both. But I love this access we get with the head coach each week where you just you get a little peek into the mind of a guy who is spinning on all cylinders, team's 3-0, but a border battle this, anything that, he has to be prepared for absolutely any element that LaFleur and the Pack are going to throw at him.
For sure. You don't know what LaFleur is going to throw at you, to your point, because he's so creative when it comes to play calling and play scheming over in Green Bay. So if the plan is to have 2 quarterbacks, what does that look like? I mean, you look at both Malik and Jordan Love. Those are 2 opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to playing the quarterback position. And if you watch film and just look at how both offenses have been constructed in week 1 versus week 2 with Jordan Love and then Malik Willis, 2 completely different play styles. And now Malik is starting to get some, confidence and some momentum going forward. So that does raise the question of, hey, do you let the hot hand continue to play, or do you let Jordan Love play and you go down that route? You pay the guy X amount of dollars, so that makes the most sense. But, from a personal perspective, if I'm Malik Willis and if I'm not playing this week, I know that my price just went up for this upcoming offseason if the Packers decide not to keep me, because you're 2-0 as a starter. You put some really good tape on film, and ultimately you can pretty much name your price within your market value.
Sure.
If you go to another team this upcoming offseason.
I mean, don't you? I think they would just keep him, right? I mean, they dealt a pick, and I don't know how you're going to deal with that if Malik plays this weekend. You got Liberty connections here. Of course, you're loving the purple now. Yeah. You're seeing Malik.
It's bittersweet. I think everyone knows me and Malik are pretty good friends, and just seeing his success has been great. But seeing him do that for the green and gold has not. So wishing the purple come out victorious on Sunday, and Malik leaves the game smiling also.
Last year with Malik, at times, it was hide the women and children when he threw the ball. That's not the case the last 2 games. And this coach and the way they coordinate things for them, I mean, it's clear here. I'm not going to say chess checkers, but I mean, O'Connell and his staff, Flores and his staff, Dan, that they're steps ahead of what they've seen. Well, now you have, you have 170 to 200 plays on film to get the takes, talkers, tendencies, the whole thing. So we have a lot of respect for Matt LaFleur around here, and we'll see how this works this weekend. However, in watching back a bunch of Malik Willis moments yesterday, I started watching play after play after play. Tennessee played tough early. Until Levis threw that pick 6 to Jair Alexander.
It was a good game.
I think Tennessee was going to win the game. I mean, they were playing Green Bay really tough. And Green Bay has that really nice opening drive, but then they get stopped and they settle for a field goal. It just was going the way home teams win meat grinder games. Then your guy threw the pick 6 to Jair, and I had the women and children with that too. But I stopped watching Willis's passes, not simply because I was so infatuated with his running.
Yeah.
And watching what the position LaFleur puts him in to run and just how he got Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson up to speed enough to have them both in the backfield, like broken eyes, power eyes, not single wing because Willis was under center, but then like Jacobs behind him in the pistol, and then Wilson or somebody or Jaden Reed motioning to the backfield to give some, and then they would run. It wasn't a wishbone, but it was a long hold, a hold on the fake to Jacobs. And then, the point here to land the plane, Malik knows how to run. I mean, he's smart when it comes to discipline with running, shifting the ball to the right hand. I know he can run, and yes, he is a running quarterback, and so was Mike Vick, and so was Lamar Jackson, and so on, and Fran Tarkin, and so on and so on. But I just never really saw him with that super organized run plan. And just how good he was at it.
He's explosive. He's fast. He's got the quick twitch to him. I know you always talk about my calf muscles, but if you look at Malik Willis's calf muscles, you understand why he's breaking tackles left and right down the field. And that's something that he was required to do his senior year at Liberty. Didn't have the receivers to be able to get the ball down the field, so he relied on his running ability a little bit more. He gets to Tennessee. They put him in, with Derrick Henry. He's forced to throw the ball a little bit more. And to your point, hide the kids, hide the wife, hide everyone. And now when you turn on the film against Tennessee last week, I believe the Tennessee Titans defense put too much of an emphasis on stopping Josh Jacobs. I mean, granted, a week before he had 100 rushing yards in the first half. And I believe the first play of the game, the Packers did was like a fake toss sweep to the right. Which all the linebackers came up to basically blitz and stop the run, and Malik Willis threw a little dump route over the top. And it's like, hey, you're giving this guy, I wouldn't say too much respect, but they put too much respect on Josh Jacobs, which ultimately opened up a lot of opportunities for Malik to use his legs and then throw the ball down the field, at least in the middle of the field, against the Tennessee Titans last week.
Stick around. Let's chat more about it, all right?
Sounds good.
Gabe Henderson, Gabe A. Henderson via Twitter. It's a TCO Tuesday, 9 to noon on KFAN. $11:50 deep stretch 9 to noon Friday football feast Buffalo Wild Wings Coon Rapids. Gabe Henderson will be part of that. He's also with us Tuesdays following KOC from the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center Vikings Entertainment Network radio studio. Nordo, you had something for G.
Well, I would just flatly, what has impressed you the most through 3 weeks? And this team going 3-0 and just what we felt into the season, and so many things being projections, right? What will Sam look like? What will this defense look like with all those new faces? And through 3 weeks, what are you loving?
I like how, as we speak, Brian Flores is on our TV. I like how Brian Flores has been able to scheme up offenses. And I say that because when you turn on the film, he's running like 2 or 3 different coverages, 15 different ways. And it's like, if you're a quarterback, like how do you diagnose that? Like, how do you know what is what? Like, I feel like we have a defense full of Harrison Smiths. Like, 2 years ago, the first time we saw Harrison Smith lined up as a defensive end. And when the ball was snapped, he's running to the back half of the field. Now you got 7 players on the field doing the same thing, throwing the quarterback off. And ultimately, that's Brian Flores making his mark on this defense. And I heard someone say it earlier this week or earlier last week, and they said the best thing about Brian Flores is that he's eliminating the opposing offensive coordinator's plan. And basically what that means is he's taking the quarterback's strengths away from him, which is what an offensive coordinator wants to do, is basically say, hey, you're my quarterback. This is your strengths. These are the play calls I want for you. And ultimately, Brian Flores is saying, okay, that's what you do well. We're not going to let you do that, and we're going to have you figure everything else out from there. And it's really been good to see and fun to watch.
You tweeted yesterday, Josh Metellus does so much for the Vikings defense. Him and B-Flow are the perfect match. What do you mean?
Similar to that point that I just made of B-Flow has him lined up in the A-gap mugging. He has him lined up at linebacker. The Vikings dressed 3 linebackers last week, and Josh Metellus started at linebacker last week against the Houston Texans. And for a guy to be a Swiss Army knife like that, as versatile as he is, that's what Brian Flores wants in his players. And ultimately, We saw Josh Metellus running the seam one play, playing cover 2 corner the next, blitzing the next, and ultimately you want that if you're Brian Flores. And I believe they're just the perfect match when it comes to roster flexibility.
What are you liking about Blake Brandel at left guard?
One, his physicality. The point of attack. One underrated part of his game is his quickness. I know he's physical. He's a big human being. But to be able to, pull on a block or to be able to get up to the second level with his speed, playing against linebackers that, run a 4-4, can go sideline to sideline, and he's able to cut those guys off so Aaron Jones can get up to the second level. Those are small things when you turn on the film, and it's like, hold on, an offensive guard getting his first start in the NFL and, getting his first few games to start in the NFL at guard, he's not supposed to be able to do that this soon. And clearly he's playing with that confidence, and Aaron Jones has been able to run behind it, and it's making our entire offensive line better.
With Harrison Phillips in closing, about 90 seconds to go. What in Flores' scheme and what he presents defensively, why have things taken off for Harrison Phillips, maybe the way they didn't in Buffalo or his first year here?
I think he's playing to his strengths, which is clogging up the A-gap, one. But two, when he's taking on double teams, he's strong enough to keep his arms out so the linebackers can run free. So let's say he's got both of his arms out and the running back makes a cut. Blake Cashman is already there. Let's say the running back tries to make a cut off Blake Cashman. He's now running back into Harrison Phillips, which is ultimately making Harrison Phillips get these tackle for losses, these sacks, and ultimately making our entire defense better. So, I'm glad he got that contract. Clearly, Flores saw something that a lot of fans didn't see, and now we're starting to see that on film. And hopefully that continues this week against the Green Bay Packers.
See you Friday, Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids, okay?
Appreciate you, PA.
Gabe Henderson, thank you, Nordo. Thank you, Maxwell Fuller. And thank all of you for listening to 9 to Noon. We start with the Dagger tomorrow. Wayne Larrivee, play-by-play guy for the Packers, right out of the gate at 9. Florio and Lindsey Whalen joins us to chat football and Minnesota Lynx playoff activity. I'm Paul Allen. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for listening to KFAN.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.